Understanding candlestick patterns is often presented as a visual shortcut to market mastery, a kind of alphabet that once memorized will supposedly let you read the future candle by candle. But that framing is exactly what traps most traders into disappointment, because candlesticks are not signals in isolation. They are expressions of behavior, and behavior only has meaning when you understand context, pressure, and intention behind it. I learned this the hard way early on, staring at charts full of hammers, engulfing patterns and dojis during the dot-com era, convinced that if I could just recognize them fast enough, I would stay one step ahead of the crowd, only to discover later that the market was not punishing my lack of pattern knowledge. It was punishing my lack of understanding of when and why those patterns mattered. A single candlestick is nothing more than a record of a fight between buyers and sellers over a specific period of time, where the open shows where the fight began, the close shows who controlled the final moment, and the wicks show where one side tried and failed. That's it. There is no magic in the shape itself. The magic, if you want to call it, that comes from understanding what kind of participants were involved, what they were reacting to, and whether their behavior fits into a larger narrative that has been building over time. Without that narrative, candlestick patterns are just shapes, and shapes alone do not pay you. One of the earliest misconceptions beginners fall into is treating candlestick patterns as predictive rather than descriptive. A hammer does not cause a reversal. An engulfing candle does not guarantee continuation. These patterns describe what happened in that moment, not what must happen next. When I stopped asking, "What will this candle do?" and started asking, "What does this candle say about who is in control?" Right now, my entire relationship with candlestick analysis changed. Candles became information, not instructions. Take the hammer as an example, one of the most popular beginner patterns. On paper, it's a bullish reversal signal, long lower wick, small body near the top. But in reality, a hammer simply tells you that sellers pushed price down aggressively and were rejected by buyers before the candle closed. That rejection is interesting, but it is not sufficient. A hammer in the middle of a choppy range means very little. A hammer after a prolonged decline into a higher time frame support zone during expanding volume tells a very different story. Same candle, completely different meaning. Context is not optional, it is everything. Engulfing patterns suffer from the same misuse. A bullish engulfing candle does not mean buy. It means buyers were strong enough during that period to overwhelm the prior selling pressure. That strength might matter, or it might be noise. In trending markets, engulfing candles often mark continuation. In late-stage trends, they can mark distribution. In ranges, they are often traps. I've seen traders lose money consistently by trading every engulfing pattern they saw, not because the pattern was wrong, but because they never asked where it appeared or what preceded it. Doji candles are another favorite source of confusion. Beginners see indecision and assume reversal. Experienced traders see balance. Balance can resolve in either direction. A doji after a strong trend might signal exhaustion. A doji in a consolidation might signal acceptance. The candle itself does not tell you which. Only surrounding structure volume and follow-through can answer that. Candlesticks do not remove uncertainty. They reveal where uncertainty exists. One of the most valuable lessons I learned was that the absence of certain candlestick behavior can be just as informative as its presence. Strong trends often lack dramatic reversal candles. They grind. They pull back quietly. When you start seeing large wicks overlapping bodies and erratic closes after a smooth move, something is changing. You don't need to label the pattern to notice the shift. The behavior has changed, and that is the message. Candlestick patterns also scale with time frame, and this is critical. A bearish engulfing candle on a 5-minute chart might be irrelevant noise against a daily uptrend. The same pattern on a weekly chart can matter for months. I learned painfully to stop letting lower time frame candles bully higher time frame ideas. The time frame that defines your trade is the time frame that defines which candlesticks matter. Everything else is commentary, not authority. Another trap is treating candlesticks as entries rather than filters. Early on, I used candles to trigger trades. Later, I used them to disqualify trades. If price was at a level I cared about, but candlestick behavior showed hesitation overlap or lack of follow-through, I waited. Candlesticks helped me avoid bad trades more than they helped me find good ones. This shift from hunting signals to filtering risk was subtle, but it made my trading calmer and far more consistent. Volume, when combined with candlesticks, adds another layer of meaning. A large bullish candle on low volume is very different from the same candle on expanding volume. The first may be short covering or thin liquidity. The second may reflect real participation. Again, the candle shape doesn't change, but the story does. Candlesticks without volume are half sentences. You can read them, but you won't understand the full meaning. Over time, I noticed that traders who truly understood candlesticks stopped naming patterns altogether. They talked about rejection, acceptance, momentum, and follow-through. They described what price did not what pattern it was. This is an important milestone. When you no longer need the label, you are closer to understanding the language. And this is where the guide needs to continue, because understanding candlestick patterns conceptually is very different from knowing how to actually use them in live trading without turning your chart into a collection of memorized shapes. And the real value comes from learning how to read candlesticks in specific contexts, such as trends, ranges, breakouts, and reversals. How to wait for confirmation instead of anticipating outcomes, and how to integrate candlestick behavior into a broader decision framework that prioritizes risk and patience over prediction. And that transition from recognition into application is exactly where we need to go next. As this sentence carries forward into the practical visual framework that allows candlesticks to support your trading instead of misleading it. And that is where we continue next, by grounding candlestick reading. In situation first, shape second, because the market does not reward pattern recognition, it rewards correct interpretation of pressure and response. The simplest way to apply candlesticks effectively is to stop scanning the chart, asking what pattern is this, and instead ask 3 sequential questions. Where is price? What phase is the market in? And what did this candle change, if anything? When you do that, most candles immediately disqualify themselves from relevance, and that is exactly what you want: fewer decisions, not more. In trending markets, candlesticks are best used to judge continuation quality, not reversal prediction. Strong trends rarely end with one dramatic candle. They end with loss of follow-through. In an uptrend, healthy pullbacks tend to show small bodies overlapping candles and limited downside extension. That tells you sellers are present, but weak. When you start seeing long upper wicks on bullish candles, larger bodies that fail to close near highs, or bullish candles that require increasing effort for less progress, the trend is aging. You do not short because of one candle. You reduce confidence, tighten criteria, or stop pressing longs. Candlesticks here help you adjust behavior, not flip bias. In ranges, candlesticks matter most at the edges. A bullish candle in the middle of a range is noise. A rejection candle at the lower boundary after multiple tests is information. What you are watching for is failure. Failure to push lower, failure to accept price outside the range. Long wicks and closes back inside the range, tell you that attempts are being rejected. But again, patience matters. The first rejection often traps aggressive traders. The second or third rejection combined with lack of follow-through carries more weight. Candlesticks in ranges are about who gives up, not who acts first. For breakouts, candlesticks are not confirmation tools, they are integrity checks. A breakout candle with a large body and strong close only matters if the market can hold that level afterward. The most valuable candle often comes after the breakout, the retest candle. Does it show rejection of the old level? Does it close with authority? Does it wick and recover, or does it overlap and stall? Breakouts fail not because the initial candle was weak, but because acceptance never developed. Candlesticks help you see whether the market is comfortable at the new price or merely passing through it. Reversals are where candlestick misuse is most expensive. Major reversals are processes, not candles. What you want to see is a sequence exhaustion behavior, loss of follow-through rejection at extremes, and only then structural change. A single hammer at a low means sellers were rejected once. That does not mean they are finished. When you see multiple attempts lower failing each with reduced progress, and then a bullish candle that finally holds gains, you are seeing a shift in control. Candlesticks here tell you when it is safer to stop fighting the old trend, not when to heroically catch the exact turn. One of the most practical habits I built was using candlesticks to define invalidation, not entry. Instead of saying this candle means buy, I started saying, if price behaves like this, my idea is wrong. A failure candle at a level I expected to hold told me to step aside quickly. This single change reduced my losses dramatically. Candlesticks became exit tools, not excitement triggers. Losing small because behavior contradicted expectation is far more valuable than winning occasionally by anticipation. It's also important to respect relative size, not absolute shape. A candle that looks large on one chart may be insignificant on another. Always compare a candle to recent activity. Is this larger than normal? Is the wick unusual for this market? Is the close stronger or weaker than what we've seen recently? Candlesticks only speak in comparison. Without comparison, they are mute. As your eye develops, labels become unnecessary. You stop saying bullish engulfing and start saying buyers took control and held it. You stop saying doji and start saying neither side committed. This is not semantics, it is understanding. When you can describe behavior without naming patterns, you are no longer memorizing. You are reading, and that is the real value of candlestick analysis. Not prediction, not certainty, but clarity about pressure response and control in the moment. If this lesson resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you can continue learning how to read markets as living systems rather than static patterns, and leave a comment sharing which context you struggle with most. When reading candles, trends ranges breakouts or reversals, because identifying where interpretation breaks down is how visual skill actually develops instead of remaining theoretical.